Scott, thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. I am excited to be back. I've been on vacation and I have some wisdom to share with everyone from said vacation. Good buddy Brad.
Welcome back.
Andre,
Welcome back.
fellow conspirator, are you around? How's your audio?
I think I'm around. I'm here. I think I'm listening to you.
Okay.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday indeed. As you know, Brad, I'm back. Got a hell of a show today. But before it starts, you know what we have to do. We have to do the disclaimer. Trade Ideas is not a registered investment advisor. All the information that you're going to be hearing in today's presentation from myself, Brad, Scott, Barry, or anyone else is to be construed for informational and educational purposes only, not as a solicitation to buy or sell any securities. Brad, put away your buy button. Are you ready to rock and roll?
Let's do it, man. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. So guys, it's important for me to really be truthful. So I've been away for a week and I've been backcountry snowboarding at a place called Kiefer Lake, Canada, British Columbia. And I've never, ever done anything more physically demanding in my life. This is a picture of me coming down one of the slopes. How do you like that?
That's pretty good. It looks like now I see why you do need that pole right there.
Right. Not often does one get to snowboard around with a pole, but ladies and gentlemen, it was so deep, so deep that that pole helped somewhat. But why am I talking about this, Brad? What is the title of this slide? It's called Get Out of Comfort Zone. As I was falling and getting up and persevering and doing it again, what I realized that, Brad, is that I was benefiting. The challenge of having to get myself out of, like, again, my comfort zone of the groom. I mean, you know, I'm an advanced snowboarder, but this stuff, notice the trees, right? So you have the powder and the trees together. It's a new experience. And so you want to
get better. You have to push yourself, and it probably
push yourself to get better.
Yeah.
You have to get to where you learn how to be comfortable in a situation that you might not otherwise initially be comfortable at. And here's the result. You know, I did end up getting better, and it was incredible. Again, just to be able to overcome, to be one with nature. And I kept thinking about trade ideas, but not in, like, you know, the work way, but in the philosophical way. Talking about, like, what's really the biggest barrier to entry. So Brad, before I get back to the slides, I'm gonna actually, I'm gonna minimize and go right into our software, and I'll get back to the slides after that. But what I wanted to hone in on is ultimately what's the biggest barrier, right? Where is the comfort zone and where is the uncomfort zone? And if we distill it out to everything, and we mentioned this before, but really it's being able to make a purchase or a short sale. In other words, a transaction. You initiating the transaction is the getting out of your comfort zone when it comes to investing. That's me going out into the backcountry. When I fell, I had to deal with the consequences of that fall, Brad. I mean, that's really the bottom line. When you fall, I mean, you have got to get back up, or eventually you will die in the snow and the vultures will eat you, you know?
No different than trading.
Exactly. And that's why I wanted to, you know, I wanted to go back to, where did I put it? Here. Like, this happened not just once, but many times. And I learned how to roll better and how to do it better. And ultimately, again, it led to being able to do it and do it well. Investing is exactly the same. And you have to learn how to deal with hills. Look at this situation. Here you have Roku. And by the way, Brad, you know, this morning when you and I were starting and you were talking to me about how you start the day, it made me think that as we do this webinar, and you know, not everybody, whoops, excuse me, not everybody, of course, is a Trade Idea subscriber, but if you are, one of the things that we like to do is instead of diving into the right clicking and configuring and all this stuff that, you know, basically I would have to cheat off of and Brad if we were in school together, but we weren't because Brad's so much older. I
don't even know where you were going with that.
Well, I'm just saying I'm younger than you, and that in terms of trading, getting it down to the basics. You know, remember I said the hills. Look at how challenging Roku would be if you were still in it. But just hypothetically say that you're a long-term holder of Roku right here. I don't know, even let's call it at 24. You know, these guys are okay, roughly speaking, right? But everybody here feels pain. And so the weight of that pain is really kind of the weight of the fall. And you start to kind of understand that if you break this area, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a price alert and I'm going to say short. And in reality, I'm going to actually go for an even 39. Just raise it up a little bit. And here I'm going to say the weight. So I've demonstrated a couple of things here, Brad, right? Number one, I've demonstrated that in Trade Ideas, what we like to do is we like to create an environment that's very suitable for you to make rapid decisions, understanding that the holy grail, the key to success, is dealing with the consequences of those decisions, right, Brad? I mean,
yeah.
Once you make it, the P&L starts counting. Your interactive brokerage, your E-Trade, your Robinhood, all of your brokerages, okay, not Robinhood because they don't do it in real time, but all the other brokerages will give you a real-time P&L. Your real-time P&L is your health meter. Isn't that a good way to kind of express it? If your health meter is green, what does that tell you, Brad? It means you're okay.
Green is good.
Right. If your health meter is red, it tells you that you're not doing good. And the difference is understanding what is a nick and what is a bleed. Okay. So in Roku, they had earnings, and obviously the earnings, whatever they did wasn't good, and so there was like a big panic from 52 all the way down to 40. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying, hey, if this gets below this level, it looks like it could get a lot worse. See, notice like this right here. Now you're going to get these guys, and I'm just talking about psychology. You know, I'm looking at pictures and I'm giving you like the Occam's razor. You can say, well, these guys are still making money, but they don't want to turn a big winner into a loser.
And there's a lot of psychology there also, Dan, when you're only talking about 3 days of that move up there and then
right.
all of the time of the consolidation. There's psychology in that as well.
And that's why I kind of wanted to push the concept of the weight. Like, right, like this thing is trying to support a lot of weight of people. And that makes it more challenging when you have something like, you know, the S&P coming lower, you know, coming back up, bouncing, but then could it test again and break? Again, you have this builds fear. And it's the understanding of the basic psychology that really helps people stay in the zone and be successful when they invest. Okay? So again, going back to what I started in with Brad, why are we on the After Hours channel? Remember, we're Netflix, we're a cable channel, we are your financial media. So right now the market is closed and I'm literally making notes for myself for tomorrow during this presentation. So I could tell Roku gap down, and you know, if it goes below here, that will signal to me that it could go weaker. But now I'm going to go over here. I'm actually going to say 45. You know, here's my theory, Brad. On these, you can't pick it perfect.
It's so hard to pick it perfect, yeah.
So, you know, people will be like, well, maybe it's right here, maybe it's right there. You know, this move was so big and so drastic. I'm going to wait until, again, psychologically speaking, this really comes above here. So now I've got this bracketed. And again, obviously, this daily doesn't show the gap down, which this does in after hours. So you can see I've got this thing covered. Having it covered gives me a play in each direction. That's a lot of what we do at Trade Ideas. You are basically creating your own playbook, okay? So you can kind of look back here, you can see, oh, wow, Brad, the AI was trying a lot of different stuff on this, but the trend actually was negative. And by the way, you can have these things happen where, something behaves not the way you think that it might. And by us saying you think, we mean the AI. The AI will not figure everything out. So
but you could put that price alert right around $4 or $3.50 and just turn your back on it and not even
that's
worry
exactly
about what's happening.
Right. Well, number one, again, I'm seeing that this thing is very volatile. So that lets me know that, number one, I might not even need to worry about it too much. But should it break out again, and when it broke out before, it's done a lot of interesting things, just at $4, and saying to myself, is this real? Because again, I'm not going to short it. So now I've got it. And by the way, Brad, notice how easy it is. If I want to get more greedy, I can adjust it, just by dragging and dropping.
Totally,
So
and it's not just greed, right? It's like you're looking at different time frames. So whether you're on that daily on the left or on that intraday on the right, you can adjust it and it'll work accordingly.
Yeah. So kind of like what Brad and I are showing you here is this is the navigation, the easy language of Trade Ideas. And I know easy language is what TradeStation uses, but our easy language is a channel bar, and then just visually be able to do whatever it is that you need to do. Okay, here, Brad, the AI caught a really nice short sell, and by the way, it goes in both directions over here, but now this thing is maybe bouncing, or actually no, it went up to 35 and it came back down to 30. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and I'm going to say really broken, and I'm going to say 29. One of the really nice things that Brad and I discuss in terms of, I can actually grab this a little lower if I wanted to. Get it fully, yeah, right there, 27.45. And again, you can think to yourself, why would you go lower? But the prevailing strength, if this thing fails, and it looked like it has in the aftermarket, you want to be fully confident. You want everyone to just bail. So we talk about creating signposts and guideposts for ourselves with our software, things that you don't have to think about. So to that end, Brad, remember when we're on surf mode on any channel, and surf mode is this mode that we have up top. This is yet another tool that we use to help all of our subscribers do better. Brad, you and I talked about neuroplasticity. What did we say about neuroplasticity?
Well, I found it to be an interesting word. I don't know that it ever got defined, but I think it's about just keeping your mind active and thinking and moving. And what we're doing here with respect to idea surfing is we're looking at these different top list windows and we're cycling through, depending upon how you have it sorted, the top 3 symbols in each one of these different top list windows so that you can continue to scan the market without having to kind of move over and click and do that whole process.
But the psychological ramifications of that is reps. So as you know, we've talked about Tiger Woods and why he was so good at golf and so much better than everybody else, because he practiced better and he did more reps. So what you're doing here is, there's something on Twitter, you can hashtag, not hashtag, but $study, and people talk about looking at charts and looking at charts and looking at charts. Where else can you do this kind of chart looking? So I'm going to switch to another channel. Okay, I'm clicking on the social media channel where we look at data not only from exchanges but from social media like StockTwits and show you things that are being actively discussed as well as actively traded. So here I am, just letting the computer talk to me. You know, a lot of times with our behavior, we often feel like we need to pull stuff out. Like, you know, there's that notion, and I've talked about this example of, you know, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, where in the movie Silver Streak, he was that Wall Street guy, then lost all the money, and then at the end in the montage, he's studying through the Wall Street Journal and sees something and connects the dots, and boom, makes everyone the money. But that's not really how it works. That's a myth. That's a mythos. The truth is, and that goes back to the neuroplasticity and proper practice, is that, Brad, it's reps. So let's take trade ideas and just compare it to any other vendor, Bloomberg, Schlumberg, TradingView, anything else. I am right now here talking, and my subconscious is getting information. Do you see what I'm saying? My subconscious is being fed symbols, and you don't always have to literally remember everything like you're studying for a test tomorrow. You can let your brain process information, and as it does, it kind of creates its own thought process on whether it likes it or not. So you are kind of creating your own sense, your own feel, and that is going to give you a tremendous advantage in terms of the time it takes to get you to be a better independent investor. So let's continue, shall we, Brad? There's a channel for everyone, and much like your cable provider, we constantly update this information. Okay, so Brad, one of the things that we've recently updated is we created a way for you to not only look through data and see it, let it surf, but of course there's also a way for you to act on it. So this is a like, and it's very similar to what you do on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or anything else. But the difference being is this puts this into your own custom channel. So I will now move my mouse away, and we're back to idea surfing. And I'm just looking at information. Again, I'm absorbing what I see. The advantage here is that this is smarter. Ooh, see this move? Restoration robotics. Brad, I like this. Two things I'm going to do caught my attention. Number one, just if you guys can all sort of think and look at this, your mind will tell you without too much whatever that this looks like an attempted turnaround. Brad, is that a fair thing for me to just hypothesize there?
Yeah, I mean, you could analyze that in a variety of different ways and come up with the same conclusion. Yep.
Right. Well, it looks like the stock is fairly new because as I zoom out, this is as far as we go. Okay. So maybe it was an IPO, consolidated, and this looks like a nice, strong, almost news-related possible move.
Yeah, one of its biggest candles to date, right?
Right. So what I did was I instantly clicked on this and I added it to my symbols. So if I don't do anything with it, later on I will be able to see the stock. I'll be reminded. But I have some more information. I have additional help, don't I, Brad? And the help comes from these lines. And again, notice, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about there's method to our madness. We talked about the slides. We talked about me falling and falling and falling and having to get back up again. Well, all those lessons that I learned from falling in the stock market are provided to you, and by the way, lessons that Brad learned and all of our team, which has over 100 years collective active investing experience, has been translated into our software in a trade assistance navigation guide that exists within the charts. Whereas other people focus on schmengies, doohickeys and widgets, forks, areas. We do some of that. Look, we got the EMA 13 and the SMA 50 here. You can see them. But what we do is we add that navigation risk management. If you were to get into this stock as of this print, 633, The AI suggests your stop to be 612. It's not in this stock, but if it was playing it with you as your assistant, as your buddy, this is what you get. And it also tells you when to maybe take some money off the table. What's kind of cool is this is available for absolutely everything. No matter what, when the software looks at it, again, I can zoom back in. Here's your stop, here's your profit. And it doesn't have to be these little stocks. We can go to things that everybody likes or is familiar with. Here's Cisco Systems. If you get in today at its last price, this is your stop, this is your profit target. Let's look.
It's a great indication, because you know what it gives you an instant notification as to kind of what's the volatility of that stock. What should I expect? What type of movement should I expect in it? And if it shows you a smart stop that's too far away, then it's just letting you know that maybe there's too much volatility at that point, or maybe you should share size appropriately.
Well, absolutely. And as you and I have been pointing out, Brad, it's those things that are post-decision support. You know, people spend so much time on which stock should I get into, but the truth is there are quite a few of them that you could get into and profit, and especially since you profit in different directions. So the key is that better risk management, better self-reliance, and not sitting in losers. And this is the only thing that comes with that guide for you. Here's Facebook. Okay, so if you bought Facebook right here, let me zoom. This is your stop. This is your volatility. Like if it keeps going lower, it's breaking through this. The software knows. And by the way, as the price changes, so do these numbers. So it works with you. This is like, again, going back to Brad, remember the Scottrade commercial from a million years ago when the guy said, it's like 1,000 pairs of eyes. Well, we are now really like, you have an assistant for every single stock, and the assistant is good, never goes to the bathroom, never gets hungry. Like the people in Cocoon. Won't ever get older and we won't ever die. I've seen way too much television. So Brad, going back to my liked symbols. Let's make sure people can continue with what we've seen. So here are the symbols that I've been clicking on since we started this feature. And here's Roku, because I did that today in front of you guys. Now it's in my list. And what has it shown me is that over the last 5 minutes, it's gone up 1%. Everything that we have is sortable. So all of our channels, you can interact with them. You can take something, look at it, and you can look at, well, what's the biggest relative volume? You know, what's going on there? What about the float? Who's got the biggest and who's got the smallest? Is that a real float, Brad? DCIX? Come on. None of that crap. But still, I think they do that crazy stuff. You can have a float of 61,000 shares. Our alert windows stream information in real time, and our top list windows allow you to sort things and rank things, and also updates in every 30-second intervals. And of course, our stock list gives you the tear sheet, so that when you're making these choices, and the choices need to be made kind of like in flow style. We talk about, Brad, how many times have we talked about the paralysis by analysis golfer metaphor, where people will get in front of the ball and then start doing all this sort of mental gymnastics and where they need to be in their wrist and all this stuff, but you really just gotta do it.
Or putting too many indicators on the chart and just not knowing when to do it.
So this is what we've done. So these lines, and someone asked, you know, what's the profit target? Again, the profit target is a proper volatility-based resistance that it is a suggestive point where it might slow down. Maybe, again, it doesn't mean you have to, but certainly the stop loss is danger zone. And that's the whole point, is that wherever we are, the navigation follows you, every stock, so that you are not sitting there with your pants down, not knowing what to do as the wind bloweth. That's the biggest problem, Brad. I mean, that is ultimately what hurts investors, what hurts traders. Why is it so difficult to, you know, to be successful at it? Is because we have not been taught to make decisions and deal with the consequences. It's really that simple. If you can do that, you are going to be very, very successful. Because the question, we're going to push the envelope of how many times you can be right. But ultimately, when you are wrong, that's when things count. So again, our channel bar, ladies and gentlemen, very, very important area here that is often overlooked simply because no one else has it. Supply and demand. One of the best things that you can track is the float and volume as it relates to the float. And that gives all of our subscribers a huge advantage in terms of finding things that are moving in a way that, percentage-wise is very significant and enough volume for you to do something, but not where everybody else is in it, like Facebook and Netflix and Tesla and all the other things that everybody trades. It's about having an information advantage, and I don't think, Brad, there's anything that I could ever imagine, that gives people a better information advantage other than insider information, which is illegal. But in terms of being able to see what's moving, you will never ever miss a stock because we watch them all. And again, we can do things with them that other people simply can't, by showing you what's happening over a shorter time period instead of the traditional period. Being able to sort things so you can just feel the strength and see where that strength is hiding. Notice, therapeutics, pharmaceuticals. So there's still strength there. 20 position in 20-day range, a year, and of course you can see the opposite. Notice I'm not doing any kind of right-clicking and writing code. I'm just simply clicking and configuring, and you don't even have to click yourself anymore. If you just let it go, it will serve for you, and that goes back to the reps. Visual reps. Learn what is success. Learn what is failure. The more visual reps you can do, the faster you are going to get to a state where you can handle what you're about to see. And of course, finally, this is our artificial intelligence. What this shows you is a couple of cool things. Number one, of course, for those that don't know, this is your signals. It tells you what to get into, what to get out of. And there was a point in time today where, for a long time, it was up like close to $3 twice on 2 different occasions. So almost everything was going. But when you have this kind of situation, that's called a headwind. That's wind. The market is selling off. It's very easy to have P&L turn around. In other words, if you just stay in your positions and don't do anything, which is why we have the notifications of risk off and risk on. What is the difference? Risk off is when the market volatility does not pay, and risk on is when it does. And again, today when the market started selling off, it became a very quickly risk off type of environment. It was risk on for a long time, Brad, as we saw.
Yeah, bring the risk on chart on, just so that we can see how it parallels what happened in the spiders and the broader markets. And you can see, it was doing great until that turnaround that happened just before the last hour. And visually, you can see what happened to your portfolio or the AI.
So this is a great example of there's no silver bullet, holy water type of a thing. Even the AI, if just left on its own without any other modes, can still find itself going negative. But this is why Trade Ideas has both risk on and risk off. You can lock things in and look, 20 minutes, 42 cents. Here's another 42 cents for roughly 30 minutes. This is where it's basically saying, hey, I'm taking money off the table. And of course, when the stops hit, you get out and you take your loss. That goes back to the original slide that I was talking about.
You got to treat it like a business. You got to follow rules.
You have to follow the rules, and it's also about getting out of your comfort zone. Like, for example, today, so let's look at how it would have transpired today. So the first trade was PLNT. And if you look at it right here, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit so people can kind of understand a little bit what. So this was the candle, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. For about an hour, it really didn't do anything in risk on mode. But then afterwards, it spent a nice good 45 minutes just heading higher and staying higher all up until the market went down. But again, in risk off mode, you lost 6 cents. Here's one, VIRT. And again, you can see what it's trying to do. I mean, it senses something. So let me zoom back in here. Here's your entry. Kind of meandered. Brad, why did that say the stop hit? Is that, am I too, right here.
It hit really quick, right? So it triggered, no. Go back to the beginning of the trade and you'll see that this was a really quick 5 or 7 minute trade.
Oh, you're right.
What happened was it got stopped out right away.
Right. It was one that got stopped out right away. You lost 34 cents and it ended up being a good one because look how much lower it went. You know, and that's the thing, guys, when the volatility is there, you want to be able to follow the rules. So the next trade was UFS. And UFS was one that basically we got into and then it just went our way. So this is when, again, now the positive comes in. So the idea is you can sort of get a sense of what the software is trying to do. And by the way, right now, Brad, one of my favorite parts to talk about in the Q&A session is what is the software doing right now while you and I are preaching the gospel?
It's working while we're working, right? It's just doing something entirely different. It's using, it's using our odds maker technology along with some other tech tools that we've created to go through and optimize a bank of 40 different strategies that we've created to really make them as most efficient as possible based upon the most current data that's available. So all the historical data that we have plus today, it's using that and going through and kind of seeing which filters it should tweak to make that strategy more profitable for the next day. And then at the end of the day, once it goes through all those different strategies, it's going to determine based on a variety of different metrics, what are the best of the best? What's the cream of the crop here to offer tomorrow? You know, which strategies will be available? And so right now we have no idea what strategies are going to appear tomorrow. And it's all going to be based upon all the data that it crunches today and previously.
Well, that's one of the cool things about being where we are technologically also is that you just, you know, you can have Facebook and Google and IBM try to replicate what we're doing here, and they would not do the exact same thing because it's impossible. Even we don't know what the software will select tomorrow, but what we do know is it's learning from this down move. So I'm going to suggest or assume that the pickings might be a little bit different, maybe not all along. Which brings me, Brad, to something else that's very important. Let me go back to our presentation, if I may. So here I learned my lesson. Again, got out of my comfort zone at the beginning. That's what I'm trying to show you guys with the trade ideas and how simple it can be, okay? But there's also a lot of other stuff we do that kind of almost goes underneath the scenes. Do you remember this guy, Brad?
No. What am I looking at?
Why don't you ever look at my screen?
I'm looking.
This is our fantastic trade of the week. So,
yes.
So we here, let me move it
Get your proofs fast, Alex.
So we literally, so the trade of the week, and for those that don't have it, you should have it. I mean, again, this is where we do the human and AI selected lists and human final decision run by our own Today Trader, Steve Gomez. I think it was on the 16th when we called it, because that's Monday. Today's Wednesday, right?
Yep.
Or, I mean, not Monday. It was Tuesday? Which day was Tuesday?
Yeah, well, we had a holiday this Monday, right? So it would have been yesterday.
So I mean, look at this beautiful, and this is the thing that I wanted to really kind of discuss, is that there's a multifaceted approach to getting benefit from working with us, and it's not all specifically based on just being a subscriber. We do more. This is a free service that we provide to kind of give you an idea of how we're thinking about things, what we're doing, and the opportunities that we sense. You know, not everything is completely like formulaic and grid-like. You know, there's a lot of flow. Steve has his own, once we get the AI selected list, we do put in the human bias. But again, we've been doing so well here because we have such a good foundation to pick from. Statistically, we can see what's up more, what's down more. And so we are helping people with the trade of the week. And if you are not on that list, you should definitely sign up. And SDS, for example, is just something where you can profit from the downside of the market. It is a hedge. And it's just another way that we can expose people, Brad, to the fact that you don't have to be stuck, you know, only making right turns, which is what most people unfortunately only envision. Here's something where, you know, the market is sophisticated enough where you can really take advantage of the downside even without the mechanics of shorting, right? And that's what Steve's doing here. SDS is a inverted ETF that goes up when the market goes down, and I think it's leveraged, so it'll be more volatile, which simply suggests that if there is any kind of this kind of continued downward movement, this could be one of the best trade of the week calls that we've ever made. So I wanted to give Steve a lot of heads up for that. But Brad was saying, in terms of why we're special, is past proves future. That's kind of the whole idea. Yes, Andy, going long SDS is like shorting the market. With technical analysis, you're doing stuff visually, and Brad, maybe this is where I've been too hard on technical analysis. You know, the problem is you need to figure out formulaically what you think you're doing visually and then apply it to large numbers. That is what we do. That's where the past proves future comes from. Today, right now, the reps that Holly's doing in our server farm is just something that no human could ever do on their own. It doesn't matter if you're, you know, being served these ideas or whatever. She's going to go through close to 1 million simulator trades, learn, and just be ready for something that all of us would not be ready for, considering the fact that we have our own lives, wives, husbands, kids, work, etc. So we're doing this for you. The past proves the future. We have that covered. The other thing that we do for the community is we have a free trading room where Barry Anderson, our incredible moderator, is kind of like our own version of CNBC, but I'm giving CNBC way too much credit. He's better because he's also putting on trades from time to time when he does, shares them with people, answers questions, and just continues the ebb and flow of one of the fastest growing and best trading rooms that, again, do not require any money. We want you to be able to see what the software is doing, how people interact with it, what are some of the best practices, and Barry continues to do this day in and day out. One of the most exciting things that we recently did is created a new schedule, and you can subscribe to it. You can check it out on trade-ideas.com. But we kind of broke it down into what our software costs per day so that people can really understand, you know, what is going on. You know, you're getting artificial intelligence and the price may seem, you know, a little bit steep to some people, of course, but not when you realize, you know, what you're really paying for. For the most part, we're less than lunch and certainly less than a cup of coffee. So we have a brand new pricing page. Check it out. And of course, for everyone who's attending our webinar, we are always happy to share our time, share what we've got going on. And of course, from that point of view, you still have, Scott, is this the proper, the TI Valentine promo code still active right now?
Yeah, all month.
All caps. TI Valentine, that's the promo code, 15% off your first month or year off of our premium or standard service. One of the other things that we do, and you guys gave really good feedback on last Friday's podcast with Michael Noss, is of course we do a Friday podcast. I do it typically with Jamie Hodge, or we have other guests there. And we're going to continue to do that. We give like a more of a freestyle feel for what we're doing and how we see the industry, but a lot of good shared insights, and again, also good guests. There have been questions about cryptocurrency and things like that, and what I want to do real quick is I want to talk about that. I want to talk about a little bit about, again, more of what you see on the channel bar. The channel bar, Brad, I would say is probably so easy but least explored, and I don't know why, but remember guys, you can scroll up and down and there's a channel for almost anybody and everybody. So here, for example, you can click and you can be linked right to the trading room. At the bottom here, there's a channel for a lot of Barry's custom windows. In other words, the windows that he shows people, we have a channel just for that. Depending on what you like, metals. You know, here you have the metals channel, blockchain and cryptocurrency. All the stocks that are messing around in any way, shape, or form with blockchain and cryptocurrency are on this channel. And of course, the other question was, so when are we going to be adding this to Trade Ideas? And we are working on that right now. We are setting up our servers for a 24-hour environment. Brad is working day and night, not sleeping, coding away. And I'm hoping again that in the next, probably in March, we will have some prototype with either crypto or futures data ready to go. Brad, is that fair to say?
That is fair to say. Yep.
Okay, so let's, Brad, let's finish up on questions. I don't want to take everyone's time. I'm just super happy that I'm back and that everybody got a chance to talk to us. Is there anything that we have not answered? Take it away.
Well, you know, Kirk was asking a question about the alert window and kind of the logic used within from the configuration. So the alert window is really our event-based window. It's when an event happens, you're going to be notified of that event. And Kirk's question, what's that, Dan?
Well, if you look at my screen, I'm doing an alert window from scratch.
Yeah, and so his question was, he was wondering if he was putting multiple alerts in there, if any of the alerts, you know, could trigger. Like for instance, if you had a new high and you had a crossing of resistance, would they both have to, you know, happen for it to work? And the way the alert logic works is any one of those could actually send that to the window, send the symbol to the window. But the filters are really the unique thing.
They are. Pardon? So we always say that this is OR logic. So in other words, as I'm doing this, I can go to any one of these. And if here, let me just kind of go like this, just a bunch, and add. So now I'm going to check all of these. Okay. And what this does is, anytime the software sees a new high or a new low or one of these or one of these, so anytime any of these happens, it will pop up. But when I go to Windows specific filters, this is the AND logic. So for example, I can say only if it's between $1 and $5, and only if it's up 2% for the day, and only, yeah, I'm going to get rid of this so we can see something. And the 5-minute volume has to be 300%. And I'm going to title this example. So this is what you see. And then if you wanted to go to history, you can kind of see what happened today. And this is the initial process of how people usually, you know, react with the software. And if you see something you like, you just go boom. You know, here's, keep going. Like that. Boom. So that's how it works. Does that answer the question, Brad?
I think it does. So I'm just offering a little more insight to Brett, who is asking about the digital currencies and how we're going to be approaching that. I just want to say, yeah, we're not giving a firm date at this point here. We have already started the development on that.
Yeah. Probably the most liquid cryptocurrencies first. And we'll probably be searching for some arbitrage on them and all sorts of different indications. So, Brad, if we talk to Efren's question, can I link my brokerage to software, or is that, we'll link to it? Yes. So, number one, our software is sort of ready to trade if you link it with interactive brokerage. So that's the easiest one, but through external linking, you can link our software to anything, and then it will like bring up your order ticket or level 2 window, which will allow you to place the trade. So yes, we link to virtually every single entity out there. Okay, let me go back to the presentation. Okay, guys, in conclusion, and like I said, we are grateful for your time, appreciate that you're here. We're easy to get a hold of. Our corporate Twitter is @TradeIdeas, and my personal Twitter, where I do all sorts of crazy stuff, is @TradeIdeas1. Please like us on Facebook. And if you want to get in touch with us, we are super easy to find, info@trade-ideas.com. My personal email is dan@trade-ideas.com. And of course, our phone number. Scott, I think we're all covered. I want to thank everybody for taking their time with us, and have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Yeah, sounds good. The recording will be up later tonight or tomorrow morning, and we'll send a reminder of where to find that tomorrow. Thanks, Dan.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.